When we think of portable computers in the early 80s, machines like the Osborne, the Compact Portable, and the IBM Portable PC come to mind. These so-called luggables were indeed portable computers, but they weren't truly mobile. Most weighed over 20 pounds and required a power outlet to even operate, meaning they were portable in name, but hardly something you'd want to carry around every day. For perspective, the Osborne, considered the first portable computer, weighed nearly 24 pounds. It resembled a sewing machine case when it was closed, had a built-in 5-inch CRT and two 5 1/4 floppy drives, ran CP/M. While revolutionary in 1981, its sheer bulk limited its portability. Similarly, the Compact Portable, introduced in 1983, was slightly smaller, but still had a heft to it and required to be plugged in. These machines were portable in the sense that they could be transported between locations, but were far from the ultra-mobile machines that we think of today. Now, Data General might not be a household name today, but back in the 80s, it was a powerhouse in the mini-computer industry. Founded in 1968 by a group of former Digital Equipment Corporation employees, Data General quickly became a competitor in the rapidly growing tech world. Their Eclipse line of mini-computers earned them a strong foothold in the business and scientific markets. But in the early 1980s, the industry was shifting. The dominance of mini-computers was giving way to smaller, more personal systems. IBM entered the PC markets with its IBM PC in 1981, sparking a revolution in personal computing. Recognizing this trend, Data General set its sight on creating something even more ambitious, a truly portable computer that would revolutionize the way people worked on the go. And in 1984, they delivered something radical, the Data General 1. This wasn't just another luggable, it was a device that many considered to be the first true laptop. When we look at its competition, it becomes clear how forward-thinking the DG-1 was. Take the TRS-80 Model 100, for instance. Released the same year, it was battery-operated and compact, definitely a step forward in portability. Its built-in basic programming environment made it popular with journalists and field workers. However, it had significant limitations. A small text-only-to-screen, no floppy, and limited storage. It was more of a niche device for note-taking and basic tasks than a full-fledged computer. Then there was the IBM Portable PC, which was essentially a scaled-down desktop. It was powerful and fully featured, running MS-DOS and IBM-compatible software, but at 30 pounds, it was heavy and still needed to be plugged in, make it more of a movable desktop than a portable device. Apple would eventually enter the portable computing space with the Macintosh Portable in 1989, 5 years after the DG-1 had already debuted. Apple's machine addressed many of the shortcomings of earlier portables, but it came at a hefty price, and unless you worked in the Apple ecosystem, it may not be appealing to you. The Data General 1 changed the game entirely. At just 9 pounds, it was designed to be truly portable, battery-powered and compact enough to fit in a briefcase. But portability wasn't the only impressive aspect. Its features were on par and, in some cases, exceeded those of desktop machines at the time. Now let's talk specs. The DG-1 ran MS-DOS, the industry standard operating system at the time, included two 3.5-inch floppy drives, a cutting-edge feature in 1984, although it would be a double-edged sword for the machine. Supported up to 512 KB of RAM, included a full 79-key keyboard, and had a monochrome LCD capable of displaying 80 columns of text, or 640 by 200 CGA graphics. Its 16-bit Intel 8086 processor, a close sibling to IBM's PC 8088, ran at 4 MHz, slightly slower than IBM's 4.77, but still powerful enough for a portable machine. For comparison, the Osborne 1 and the TRS-80 Model 100 relied on 8-bit processors, which limited their capability. All of this was powered by a built-in battery, which meant you can take it on the go without being tied to an outlet. This was a huge leap forward for mobile computing. So with all of these features, why wasn't the DG-1 a runaway success? Unfortunately, its innovative design also came with significant challenges. First, its dual 3.5-inch floppy drives, while forward-thinking, were problematic in a market dominated by 5 1/4-inch discs. Most software was still distributed on the larger format, and copy protection measures made transferring programs to 3.5 to 5.25 almost impossible. This left many users unable to access the software they needed without expensive add-ons. And then there was the screen. While the LCD was impressive for its time, it had two major flaws. It wasn't backlit, and its contrast was so low it was difficult to read in almost any lighting conditions. Whether you're in a dim office or a bright outdoor setting, the screen often proved frustrating to use. IBM engineers summed it up perfectly when they examined the DG-1 when they were developing the PC convertible.
When opinion held that the god-awful screen made a better mirror than display, and that the 3.5-inch drive was a real pain in a 5.25-inch world, the engineers returned to their workbenches before the human factors guys even had a chance to slam on the brakes.
At launch, the DG-1 was competitively priced at $2,896, a reasonable cost for its advanced features. But to make it fully functional, many users had to purchase additional upgrades such as more RAM or an external 5.25 floppy drive for compatibility. These added costs, combined with its software and screen limitations, ultimately hindered widespread adoption. Despite its shortcomings, the Data General 1's impact on the industry is undeniable. It was one of the first computers to show that true portability was possible and paved the way for more compact, powerful devices. Now, when I found this was on Facebook Marketplace, and the listing only mentioned old computer, and well, that was straight up my alley. But it had a picture of this case, which I thought was really interesting, because this isn't a case that I would recognize from any computer. So this is a really nice little case that it comes in. The Data General 1 fits perfectly in here. We got this really attractive Data General 1 tag on here. You could put your name and contact information if you lose it. But most importantly, it came with this handwritten 3 pages of notes on operation and just shortcut keys, like, hey, how do we change the contrast on the screen? Different shortcuts, built-in features, incredibly helpful. So I got that. I got the Data General 1 Pocket Reference Guide, which covers a lot of that, but these are the ones that you would use the most. Our software to go. This machine originated from the Bit Bucket in West Newton, Massachusetts. It's a really nice little fold-out. Data General put a lot of work into this, and it really shows. And then it did come with some software. There's Data General Tutorial, Database, Lotus 123, MS-DOS, WordStar, and of course Zork. I'll go through and eventually I will archive these and update them, but let's get it out of the bag and take a look at it. And here it is. It's nice. It's a nice size laptop. You have your floppy drives over here. On the back, you have what would have been a telephone port for a modem. Looks like this was an extra feature add-on. Then you have another modem here. You have your printer report. Power in, this is AC, DC, and then expansion. This is where the battery would be. My battery is not missing, but I think that's something that I will be able to rebuild. But what you want to see is this. Now, if it isn't painfully obvious, this screen is a mirror. It is horrible to use. And we're going to plug it in. Now, the latches don't really hold. So we're going to plug it in, and I'm going to show you how bad this actually is. Alright, so it is on, and we are trying to load the tutorial right now. The screen actually looks a lot better on the camera. I wonder if I maybe block out some of these lights. That's not too bad. We'll go with that for a little bit. But you can imagine it's worse in person. The camera picks it up better than what it is in real life, but it is just a miserable screen to use. And my screen does have these dead pixel lines here. I haven't been able to fix that. I tried to recap the screen, reflow some of the joints. That they're just dead. There's nothing I can do about that. But it gets better from here only if you are lucky enough to have this Data General backpack. Now, from just a crazy coincidence, this didn't come with the listing. I found this on eBay. I had some Data General searches, and I found this. And what's nice about this is it gives you 5.25 inch floppy, which is incredibly useful, but video out. So we're going to plug this in, and I'll show you a little bit of feed directly from the Data General 1. But before I do that, I want to demonstrate that this isn't complete. And what I mean by that, it sits in the port like this, and the machine just kind of sits here, and it puts a lot of stress on that port, and quite frankly, it doesn't make me comfortable. I saw some pictures of it where there are little feet that are supposed to extend down to make this sit better, but it's just a very precarious situation. So we'll get this hooked up safely, we'll get some video from it, and take a look at the tutorial. So it starts out like any PC that would run DOS. Now the interesting thing is when the backpack is installed, the actual screen is just blank, right? It's all black pixels. I don't know if that's a defect, maybe part of my screen pulling power, or if that's just how it works. It would be kind of nice in this configuration if I can close the screen and have an external keyboard, but I don't think that's an option, to be honest with you. And here we are, how to use your Data General 1 personal system. You know, I've messed with this tutorial, and it is really, really neat. Yeah, I might even have a separate upload of just going around the tutorial and looking at the functions. So we'll let it load, and we'll explore it for a little bit. So let's take a look at an introduction to your personal system. Let's look at the components. And it has quizzes too. I thought that was really cool. As you work your way through the tutorial, you know, it'll give you a little quiz to make sure you've mastered your machine. Yep, so here's your keyboard. You get special keys on it. It's just really cool. It is, you know, mid-80s computer tutorial, exactly what you'd expect. Hey, look, you got some disk drives on here. You have your 3.5, but there is an optional with this backpack. Look at that line drawing. I mean, that looks exactly like what this machine should be. And you get a printer. So Data General did have their own branded printer. And your 5.25 drive. I don't have one of those. I would love to find one of those for this machine. There's a lot of accessories for this I would love to find. Modem, look at this. You got a little Los Angeles. Look, it goes up. So I got my machine there in Boston because Data General is from Massachusetts. Goes up over only 2 telephone poles and then straight into Los Angeles too. I would assume that is a representation of a Data General mini computer or mainframe. So it's just a lot of fun. Yeah, I'll probably upload a video of this. It's just it's a really wholesome introduction that they have. I think it's a lot of fun. Let's look at one more thing here. We'll go back. Let's look at the built-in functions, because that's pretty interesting. So the machine itself, right, there is no, you have to have a floppy to run DOS, which is kind of expected, right? There's nothing in ROM, or at least there's no DOS in ROM. But what it does have is some built-in functions. So even without any disks inserted, you do have a notebook, you have a terminal, diagnostic, and a little setup. Let's take a look at the notebook on here, because it's just nice to be able to have something that I could, you know, have a text editor built in. So this is 500 lines of text with 80 columns wide. It's a built-in function stored in ROM, and Yeah, it may not seem like much today, but the point of this machine, it's the first battery operated laptop. It's not the right term, for the time, but battery operated computer I can take with me. So I could be on a train or an airplane. I might not have floppies with me, or I don't want to carry a lot, so I don't have a word processor with me. I can go into the notebook, I can type whatever I need to, and save it and keep it in the machine. It's just it's a really great idea at the time that I think we take for granted today, because I just go to my phone and I can type all the notes I need. And it's not a full-fledged word processor. It's not meant to be, but it has all of the features that you need just to get your ideas down, and then save it. It's really, really cool. The DG-1 had a second life, if you will, as a rebranded Allen Bradley T45 programming terminal, which was sold up until late 1991. It even had an oscilloscope add-on, so you could take your readings and save it to a floppy. It's amazing the influence of the DG-1 can be seen in the rise of portable computing throughout the late 80s and even into the early 90s. All of our modern laptops owe a lot of their conceptual DNA to this machine. And looking back, it was truly ahead of its time. In 1984, a 9-pound computer that could fit in your briefcase, run on a battery, and have everything you need was truly revolutionary. Today, we take a lot of our sleek machines for granted, and it's just a given. But there was a time where we didn't have that. And I think we should remember the Data General 1 for what it was. A pioneer of portable computing that proved mobility and functionality could coexist in an elegant and light machine. Well, I think it's going to wrap this up. Let me know what you thought about this. This was a really interesting machine. I didn't know anything about it before I got it, and I really wanted to share it with you. If you like this, let me know in the comments below. What did you think about the Data General 1? Outside of mainframes and mini computers, did you even know Data General had a hand in laptops? Put it down in the comments. If you like what we're doing here at Retro Tech or Die, like, subscribe, tell your friends, and we'll catch you next time.
And that the 3.5-inch drive was a real pain in the... I'm sure there's a good sentence in there somewhere.